Hello, I'm Dudley Thompson, and welcome again to WDT Media TV. Again, please like, share, and subscribe here to look at a topic that many Jamaicans are trying to shy away from, but is real, more real than most Jamaicans tend to admit. Lots of Jamaican men are hardworking Jamaican men, but every single day they toil hard on the soil, working hard to provide for themselves and their families. Lots of Jamaican men, and they want to go home after work, sit back, relax, and enjoy some good time with their families. But while a lot of Jamaican men, after going home to happy families, but some Jamaican men, on the other hand, are going home to this. Is an unfaithful partner, and by extension, what they wear so proudly is actually a jacket. Yes, a jacket. Real story. Some men have children, while some are going home to jackets. And this is really a serious matter.
The American Embassy said that 34.4% of the Jamaican men who live in the United States cannot sponsor their children and get them there because they are not the father.
Wow.
Right? And the Star said 70% of the men walking around is wearing a jacket even in the hot daylight. Right? And the jacket is at home. You don't want that.
And that's why the MP for Central St. James, Mr. Aaron Clark, is advocating that the child's father should be determined at birth. And he's saying that the Jamaican jacket syndrome is contributing to the high level of violence in Jamaican society.
The cases of domestic violence that leads to murder are high, Madam Speaker. According to Dr. Herbert Gill, doing a study conduct here in Jamaica, one of the causes of domestic violence stems from paternal issues. Madam Speaker, as a legislator, I will be moving a motion for the DNA paternity test to be done at the birth of the child in order to determine fatherhood of that said child. This, Madam Speaker, I believe will stem majority of the domestic violence in our society.
Dr. Christopher Tufton is highlighting how some Jamaicans can be cruel and heartless to their own family members. Take a look.
74 social cases are currently in the hospitals, and we remain resolute in our efforts to remove these social cases from hospitals and have begun the process, Madam Speaker, very important, and I've said this before, but we are well down the wicket now, of pursuing or exploring our legal options and where possible taking legal action against families who have abandoned their relatives in hospitals and are utilizing the resources of these persons that could be channeled in their care and protection, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is really unfair. It is unfair for persons who need a hospital bed and cannot get one because it is occupied for multiple years by persons who would have been released but have nowhere to go. I believe that the state has to maintain compassion for those persons because they are victims. But we should not confuse the compassion we show to those persons by extending it to the family members who exploit those persons' situations and are taking advantage of their assets where those assets exist. In January 2022, we will begin the process of testing in the legal system by filing civil suits against families of persons who have abandoned relatives in health facilities. We intend to test these cases to see what the court's opinion of this particular situation is likely to be, and from that opinion we'll explore where possible an adjustment in policy or law to hold those persons more accountable. Through our social work case management process, we have identified families that are able to support the care and treatment of these social cases, but have refused to take the responsibility. We know of cases of persons who are receiving pension from overseas, but relatives have refused to use these funds to support their relatives in hospital or indeed in other care. We know of instances where persons have been abandoned in hospital and relatives have rented their properties and refused to use these resources to care for the owners of the property and basically abandon them in our hospital system. We intend to address this directly, Madam Speaker, firstly by reaching out to these family members and hopefully having a dialogue with them to try to help them to appreciate what their responsibilities are. This matter, Madam Speaker, finally, it has been the practice of some Jamaicans during the Christmas period, and it's sad, but it's true. We have evidence of it, to abandon their relatives in hospital during the holiday season. Literally take them to the hospital and drop them off and pick them back up after the holiday period. This practice is usually done for the aged and the infirm. In other words, some people want to go party or want to go enjoy some freedom, and they see the hospital as a care facility to take care of their loved ones. The practice is expanded. The problem has created greater levels of overcrowding during the season, during this time of year, because it means more admissions. And Madam Speaker, remember now, we can't turn someone away who is brought and placed in a hospital setting. The Public Health Act does not allow it, and therefore we have to take these persons in. And as I said, these persons are really victims, and we're not in the business of the government showing compassion to abandon the victims. So we're not arguing about the need for care for these individuals. Our problem, our challenge are those who are behind these actions, who are really cruel and
and Lisa Hanna is taking issues with the NWA.
I spent years advocating for since 2008 to date. I want you to listen, because some of you are here just 1 year in your first term. It was during the estimates of expenditure of the committee, Standing Finance Committee of 2019-2020, the Minister of Water at the time, Carl Samuda, publicly assured me that after many years of hounding and making representation to successive ministers of water, Chang and Pickersgill, and that the NWC had finally received the necessary capital expenditure for upgraded water systems in Southeast Sentan. And he announced this right here in 2019-2020. Monique and Walker's Wood, 125 million. Claremont and Higgintown, 510 million. Thatch Hill, 80 million. Matney, 35 million. New Ground, 10 million. New Hope, 25 million. A total capital expenditure for water for my constituency for $785 million. That year, none of the projects were started, and I want to know where the money for these water projects for Southeast Sentan has gone, Madam Speaker. Something is wrong when the people of Higgintown and Southeast Sentan can't get 900 lengths of pipe for over 1 year. Yet my neighbor, God bless her to the west, was granted $1 billion worth of water projects within the same year. 6 ministers of water later, no one can tell me when these projects are going to start or finish. It cannot be, Madam Speaker, that $785 million was approved for CESA in 2019-2020, and to date, no one can tell me why the projects were not started. It begs the question, which communities are given priority for capital expenditure for water? The Parliament needs to know the mechanism of how the National Water Commission gives priority for capital expenditure. Very few in here would disagree with me that the National Water Commission is ineffective in delivering its promises. And I want to ask the Prime Minister just to investigate, where is the $785 million that was approved for the distribution of water to the residents incessant. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.